Okay, Masechta Avoda Zara, the last line on Lamed Hey Amid Beis. We're starting from Lamed Vav Amid Aleph, and we're going to do Daf Lamed. Start from Lamed Hey Amid Beis, the last line. Bahashem Shalahem. We learned in the Mishnah their oils, the Goyish oils, you're not allowed to buy from them, and we said it was because of chasness. We're going to get to it soon. It says the Gemara Shaman. The oil of Agoy Rav Daniel Gazallah. Rav says the Navi made a gzeda to Asa Goyish oil. Shmuel says Zili Fasan has nothing to do with Daniel's gzeda. Rav says it's gzeda. Shmuel says no, Zili Fasan shall Kalim Tmeim, because the mission of the foods that come out of the walls of the keli are tummy.
What do you mean
What
comes out of the walls of the keli? The oil, pure oil.
Goyish keli had other stuff in it, so we're afraid the stuff that came out of it would tummy the stuff, which would be, when he would heat up the oil, heat up the kli, it would from the walls would come out tummy the kemacholim. What's the problem with tuma? Do we have such a high standard to eat dafka Torah food that you're going to ask it to buy shemen from a goy because it's going to be tamei? Says the Gemara elas lifasen shal kelim asurim. It means, and the question they ask even stronger. Even though Midas Chassidus tells us that we should eat chulin, we should eat b'tahara, but surely not all the Yidden have that minhag. And it says when a person is tamei, for sure he's allowed to eat something that's tamei. He's tamei. The only one the only items that the Torah really asked is truma, ma'aser sheni, and kachim. Those foods are forbidden to eat when they are tamei. But normally you're allowed to eat tamei food. It says rather, we're talking about what will come out of the walls of the kelim, food that was asur. So that's something that's asur, and it comes out of the walls into the oil. You can't use such oil because you're dealing with isur.
Give an example.
If he cooked pig in a pot and now he puts oil, so you have the isur of chaza in the oil. So that
doesn't feel like it has no.
Okay. So he said, okay, what's that? I started him. That would asur the oil. Shmuel says to Rab, Shmuel says, it's understood according to me, the Amina I said, what was the reason that they asked the oil? Shmuel said, because because of the walls that absorbed Isur, when you would heat up that keli, so Isur would come out of the walls into the oil. So, Hainu, this now it makes sense. When Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marta came from Eretz Yisrael and he said, Rabbi Simloi Dashan in the Tzivin, that shaman of a goy, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi means Rabbi Yehuda Nesiyad, the grandson of Rabbi, Ubeizdin Aninu Allah V'hitiru. They voted it that the shaman should be mutter. Now, this makes sense because why? Kasava, why they say it's mutter? Noisan Tam Lev Gam, so they could change, they could argue with the one that says Noisan Tam Lev Gam is still going to be Yasser. They hold no, Noisan Tam Lev Gam is mutter. There is a machlekes if it's machlekes if it's even mutter lechatchila. So over there it's talking about food that was in the keli, and it's over 24 hours. And then you heat up the keli. The parts that come out of the walls are going to only ruin whatever's in the keli. So it's nice and tam legani. Only gives it spoils really what's in the keli. So there's a machlokes. If even though it's us or others say, nevertheless, since the isur over there is only going to ruin the food that's in the keli when it comes out of the walls of the keli, it's mutter. But there's a man that says it's asa. So the chatchila they said it's asa. Shmuel said it's asa. But Rabbi Simlai says Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rabbi Yehuda. No, he holds Noisan Tamagam is mutter. He could argue on that. It's not even a gzeda. But according to you, Rav, you said it has nothing to do with the emission from the walls, what come out of the walls. You said Amat Daniel Gazalov. You said Daniel, who was a very cheshiv Navi. He was a Navi, and he made a gzeda that the Shem Shal Goy should be Aser. So Daniel Gazav Aser Yehuda Anasi Mevatel. How could the Yehuda Anasi come and be Mevatel Daniel? How could he be Mevatel Daniel's gzeda? It's a gzeda.
Everyone holds it.
No, oh, that was the reason for. No, he says the Isa is. Oh, you mean the Gzeda? Yeah. Okay.
But everyone
He
holds
was
that
Geyser because of Chasnas, yes.
But everyone holds that with the Neil was Geyser. It's cool almond.
Oh, wait, we're going to get to that soon. You're jumping. So the Kasha says, how could Rabbi Yehuda be Mevatel, like Gzeda from Daniel? We know, Ein Bezdin Yach Levatel Divi Bezdin Chaveda Elam Ken Gola Yimad Bechachma Minyan. We learned before that he has to be Cyber Chachma, and Cyber Minyan. And now here you're not talking about you're talking about Yehuda Anas against Daniel Anavi. I'm not going to say no match, but Daniel was much greater than Rabbi Yehuda Anas. It was bigger. And not only that, he had a big bezdin. It wasn't so simple. Amalei. So Rav says to Shmuel, that's your question on me, because I said Daniel made a gzeda, and you're asking from Rab Simloi, he said in the name of Rabbi Yehuda Anasi that he was Mavatal the gzeda. How was he Mavatal the gzeda? Simloi Ludar Kamrit. Your Simloi is from Lud. He's from the city of Lud. Shiny Ludoi the Mezalzel Ideya Mezalzel, the words of the Chacham. You can't trust him. He's in the name of you can't trust him. Malay. So Shmuel says to Rav, are you masking that I could go and send Rab Simloi what you said? That he's not trustworthy and he's mezalz in the words of Chachamim. And there's a whole story in Yerushalmi with this. Ichsif. The Pearl Mamish, Rav was embarrassed. No, so Rav immediately was embarrassed. Of course, Shmuel wouldn't go and send it right away because they say lechrachel. You're not allowed to fear the chilis. So he didn't do it, but he threatened Rav. You want I should tell you? Are you masking that I should tell him this? So of course.
Who was matter this? Rabbi Yehuda Bezdin.
Rabbi Yehuda Beidina, yeah. So he says Rabbi Yehuda Simloi said in the name of Rabbi Yehuda Bein Nasiya. So he says Rabbi Simloi, you're trusting Rabbi Simloi. Rabbi Simloi is mezalz in the words of the Chachamim. And you can't trust his words that Rabbi Yehuda was Mevatel Gzeda. So the Rav says Shmuel says to Rav, is that true? You can't trust Rabbi Simloi? Could I go ahead and send him what you said? So Rav was insulted, and of course Mizbayish it says, and he said no. Rav said like this: if it's Taka Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya was, and his bezdin were Mevatel, said it's mutter, they weren't Mevatel the Gzeda of Daniel. Because late darshu, they didn't dashen the pasuk. Rabbi Yehuda Anasi felt that the drasha that Rav claims to have dashen, that Daniel made, like he asked, that Daniel made a gzeda, he learned it out from a pasuk. Rav learned it out from a pasuk. Rabbi Yehuda ben Nasiya didn't hold of that. He said from that pasuk you can't bring a proof that he made the gzeda. So Rav is saying, Rav says,
he says you can't bring
proof that Daniel made the gzeda. He says, Rabbi Yehuda said it's mutter, the shaman of a guy. Obviously, they held that Daniel never made such a gzeda because they didn't dash him like Rav, who dashed him from the pasuk. It seems like Daniel made a gzeda. But he says, Anan loy dashin, just because Rabbi Yehuda ben Nasiya didn't dash in the pasuk in a way that it looks like Daniel made a gzeda, should I not have a chance to look at the pasuk and see maybe you could dash in that Daniel did make a gzeda? He says, I looked at the pasuk, and for me the words are mashma that Daniel did make a gzeda. So we could be arguing about a pasuk. And Rav was able to argue with Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya. Rav, it says, even though Rav was an Abed, it was also Tana. Rav Tana who Polik. Rav could argue with him. So Rav could say, I learned the pasuk that from a dig of the pasuk that Daniel did make the gzeda. Even though Rabbi Yehuda ben Nasiya, it's mashma from him. There was no such a gzeda. So he says like this. Rav says, if Rabbi Yehuda ben Nasiya didn't dash in the pasuk as a gzeda, anan loy dashina. Should I not have a chance to look at the pasuk and yet dashin that it was a gzeira? Vaksiv. Let's see what happened in Daniel. It says, "Vayos Daniel al libash his go." Daniel was pushed into the government. He was forced into the government. They wanted him as an advisor. Nebuchadnezzar, I think it was. Yeah. So he wanted him because he was very smart and he was special. So Daniel brought to his heart that he said, "I'm not going to get dirty," meaning I'm not going to impurify myself with pasbag, with the food and of the bread and the bread of the melech ubeyein mishtav, and with the drinks of his wine. Mishtav is lashon rabim. Which drinks? B'shtei mishtois hakasmadava. Obviously, we're talking about two types of drinks that he says he's not going to allow himself to get impure with. Which are the two drinks? Echad mishtei yain, echad mishtei shemen. Sai mishtei yain, sai mishtei shemen. So you see, Daniel said that he refuses to allow himself to have anything to do with the shemen of the king.
Oil? They drank oil?
Yeah.
What do you call it? Mishtei shemen? They drinking oil?
Yes.
It was like olive oil.
I don't know which oils, but they drank oil in. I'm sure there was olive oil. Okay, so the Gemara says Rav this that it says Daniel. It says Vayos Malibai. He brought his heart not to purify himself with the drinks of the king, meaning of Nebuchadnezzar, who was a goy, including shaman. Alibai some. He took it to heart. Meaning that he says, since he took it so much to heart, and he was Ulechol Yisrael Haida, and he was asking for all of Bnei Yisrael not to touch this shemen from a goy, Al Tzegzeira, Shmuel Saba, because that's what they served at the table as a party by the king. And Daniel didn't want to purify himself with that type of stuff. Shmuel Saba, Shmuel says, Ali Beisam. Daniel said it for himself that he's not going to allow himself to get impure with the foods of the king or the drinks of the king, including shaman. But for the Bnei Yisrael, there was no gzeira. So Shmuel says it has nothing to do with gzeira b'chlal. Shmuel says it has to do with the isur that's in the keli, and because there's isur in the keli, Shmuel says because of the isur in the keli, not a gzeira. And if you're going to heat up the keli, it's going to, if the isur are going to come out of the walls into the shaman. But I know some tam of gam. So Shmuel said no some tam of gam is also. But came Rabbi Yehuda and he paskin no some tam of gam. Rabbi Yehuda could be mavatal that svara, and he could argue with that svara and say no some tam of gam is mutter. But the shaman the nil gazel. But according to Rav Shaman, Daniel did make a gzeira, right? So how was Rabbi Yehuda able to be mavatal? That's the kasha. Next, now the Gemara asks Shaman. Oh, so we answered it, and we answered how. We just answered how was Rabbi Yehuda able to be mavatal the gzeira? Because it wasn't a gzeira for Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says there was no such a gzeira. He learned. He could learn like Shmuel. It was only for himself. But and Rav learned there was a gzeira. Okay. In fact, Yimara now the shaman, the Neil Gazel. In fact, Yimara, you're saying the Neil made the gzeira. V'ama Bali Yama Abimi Nusa.
What's Bali? What's the name? Bali?
That's it. Yeah.
Bali Abimi.
Yeah, he's a ballerina. No, I'm joking. Bali said, through Avimi.
Bali, his name is Bali.
Yes.
What did he say?
Through Avimi Nusa.
When you hear the guys are called Bali.
So from the place. Avimi from the city of Nusa, Mishmei the Rav, the name of Rav, that the Isa, Piton, the Shamnon, Yenon, Uvneiseyem, and we're going to learn what they are. But Piton means Pasakum, Shemin is Shemanakum, Yain Yinesa, Uvneiseyem of Goyim. Yeah. Kula Mishmei Asadava. They are all from the 18 Takones that the Talmidim of Shammai and Hillel brought up to the attic. I don't remember, I think it was Hananya ben, I forgot his name. The attic of that person, it's in Bishabas, Yud Gimel. Just don't remember the name. Okay, he was brought up, they brought him up, and that at that time Shammai had more Talmidim. And they were arguing with Hillel and a lot of stuff. So they made 18, over here they won, 18 takanas they made, because they had
restrictions.
It was a bad time that time. They had to make those restrictions. Anyway, Shammai won. Shammai made 18 takanas that he won, and amongst the takanas was Shemen. So so you see, the Zeta was not from the Nil. It was later on. It was from the 18 takanas that Shammai had won and was instituted. Those 18 takanas, and it was a way after the time of the deal. If you want to say us the Nil goes kibo, the Nil Taka made a Xera, but the people didn't accept it. They also tell me that the Hill was Shammai because we kibo. Only after Hill was Shammai that they made that vote and Shammai won the vote. That's when they accepted it. So that's when it was accepted. That's why we said the Nil Taka made the Xera, but the Xera was only accepted by Hill was Shammai. In fact, the Yamada by the vote with Sham by the Shmenas Takanis. In fact, the Yamada came Hayas say the Rab. What was the testimony of Rab that the Xera was Nixer al Yidei Nadi? It was the Xera was done through the Nil. This Xera had no keepers, no chalais. Says the Yamada El Daniel goes Allah. Rather, Daniel was gaze on the Shaman, Ba'ir, only in the city itself, because that's where all the parties take place. The Asuinu, but the Shammai came with Gaza and there were Gaza, even Afilu Besada where there are no parties taking place. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, Heichim Matzi Lamisha, Takantan Talmidei Shammai V'Hillel. How could Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi go against that, against the Xer of Shammai V'Hillel? But now we learned in the Mishnah, Ein Bezin Yachla Vatel, Dibri Bezin Chavei Alam Kain, who governed Hayimenu V'Chachmei V'Minyan, and Talmidei Shammai V'Hillel were bigger. Right, and even more so, in everything, a greater bezdin can be mevatel a smaller bezdin. Any Xera.
Yeah, but how do you judge what's greater or not greater?
We said b'chachma b'minyan, in wisdom and in the numbers.
Numbers I can understand. Wisdom, who's argue, who's wiser?
You'll see, there are people who are wiser. People know. Except for these 18 takanas that were designated by the Shammai, there's no way of being mevatel. Even if Eliyahu comes with his bezdin, Eliyahu Hanavi, and with his big bezdin, it won't help to be mevatel. You won't be able to be mevatel. So Amar Mishashia. So how was the Rabbi Yehuda Hanas able to be mevatel this Xera? Amar Mishashia Ma'atam. What's taka the reason that you cannot be mevatel any of the 18 takanas? No matter how big the bezdin is, why can't you nullify it? Since these takanas were spread out through all of Klal Yisrael, and Tosfos says it was also hard times, so
restrictions, right?
These restrictions. Yeah. So therefore, you cannot be mevatel.
Jewish community mingled together with the non-Jews.
Not
But
a good idea.
Not a good idea.
Shemen, but when it came to the Goyish oil, loy pashti yisur b'rev Yisrael. That takana of Shemen did not spread throughout Klal Yisrael. They didn't abide by it. People were buying still Goyish oil. Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yochanan, Yosh Rabbi Seinu, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi and his bezdin sat down ubatka al Shemen, and they searched through this takana. If everybody's watching and keeping to the takana of not buying Goyish oil, and they found Shalei Pasha. He said, but most of the Yidden were not abiding by it and were buying Goyish oil. That they would say, Ein Goyzing Zed al Atzibur, you cannot put a decree on the Tzibur, Elim Kem Reiv Atzibur Yechen Lamed Ba. Only if most of the Tzibur could abide by it. So we answered two questions here. Question number one, 18 takanas, we said there's no way of being mevatel it. Even if Eliyahu would come with his bezdin, he wouldn't be able to mevatel it. So he says, and so you need a bigger bezdin. You don't have that. So his first answer is that's one question. Doesn't matter. You can't be mevatel it. So he says, and second question was that even if you would find a bigger bezdin, how could you be mevatel? First of all, it's any such takanas you cannot be mevatel. So number one, he says it wasn't pasha. It didn't spread throughout. The only reason why you cannot nullify such takanas because it was spread out through all Klal Yisrael. Such a takana you cannot be mevatel. So number one, he says Shemen was not spread out. So now comes the question. We're still stuck with the question. We need a bigger bezdin. Where was there a bigger bezdin than Eliyahu Hanavi, or than Shammai and Hillel, or than whoever made the takana, whoever you go after? Where was there a bigger bezdin? He says you don't need a bigger bezdin, because over here even a regular bezdin can be mevatel, because here there was another component to it, to this, that it was a takana that Klal Yisrael cannot abide by it. So any takana, any Shalei this pashit, you would need a bigger bezdin to be mevatel, but you don't have a bigger bezdin. So how would they mevatel it? So he says because this was a gzeira shein atzibi yochen lamed by. It was a gzeira that the tzibur cannot abide by it. Because you see,
How is it different?
it's like today they try to make the gzeira on cell phones. In yeshiva everywhere, it's not helping. It's a gzeira shein yochen lamed by. Finished. We're wasting our time. I shouldn't say wasting our time, but it's a tough. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm giving you a. Avoda had said, "Micro, where's the market from the pasuk that if it's exated that the tzibur cannot abide by it, you're not going to be that you could be even a regular person could be mevatel it." Says the Yemara. He brings down from Malachi. It says by Me'eda. In the curse atem na'arim, that you have cursed yourselves, that if you'll be over this certain avedas, you made xedas for yourself, and you gave curses if you don't listen to it. On themselves. And you're robbing me, because you're not listening to your own xedas. And it says Hagoy Kulei, the whole nation. That's because there was a whole nation accepted the xedah, with the curses. Atem ne'arim, that you placed upon yourself, well, the exodus that you said that if you don't want to abide by it, you're going to get those curses. And he says, you're robbing me. Hagoy kulei, because the whole nation accepted it, and you guys are not keeping to it. So what do we see from the last words? Hagoy kulei, everybody accepted it. It's mashma dafke hagoy kulei in. If the whole nation accepted it, then they had to abide by it, and then it makes sense. That's where it makes sense that that they should be chayav for the curses that they put on themselves. Eloi, but if they cannot, if the whole nation cannot abide by it, loi, then the gzeda there's not. You can't be mechayiv the gzeda, you can be mated the gzeda. Gufa, we had learned previously.
What's the cloud?
So we said two things. The cloud eitin takon is if it was nispashit, you can never be mabatal. Even though greater, if it was spread throughout the whole nation, you cannot be mabatal. Those 18 takonis. You can't cancel it. If one of those takonis weren't spread throughout the whole Jewish nation, then you would need a bigger bezdin to be mabatal it. To annul it. But here we didn't have a bigger bezdin that bezdin made it. So, but he says over here was different. Here was a decree that the whole tzibur cannot abide by it. It was very hard. Such a decree that not everybody could abide by it. Even a regular bezdin could be mevatel it. Okay, so we had previously learned. Oma Bali, Oma Aviminu Sa Mishmed Rab. Bali said in the name of Aviminu Sa, in the name of Rab, Piton, the breads of Goyim, Shaman, and the oil, Yenon, and the wines of Nisaim, their daughters, Kulam Mishmani Asadava, hey, they are all from the Gzeda of Talmidei Shammai who were overruled. Hillel, he had more votes. So if you want to, what's Nisaim by? What is that Isa of Nisaim? What Isa are we referring to? The daughters of Goyim. I mean, Rav Nachman Rav Yitzchak goes up and Nisaim Lidas Mari Soisan. Rav Nachman Rav Yitzchak said they put a decree on Goyish girls, even while they're in their cradles, right when they're born, they have a din tumas nida. Sagt er, Ugeniva mishmei Rav Ama, Ugeniva in the name of Rav said.
A Goyish woman is always a nida.
Yeah, even though that nida is not metame, but a gzeda. They said it should be tame. Ugeniva mishmei Rav Ama, and Geniva the name of Rav said, Kula mishum avidis kechavim goes abahem. It says it has nothing to do with nides, not nides. It has to do with avidis kechavim.
That's the title of the
But what's the Isa of Nisaim? Because the Nisaim will schlep the people into Avoda zara. Sagt Gemara the Chiyasa Rav Achbar Avoda, Omar Rav Yitzchak Gazal Pitam Ishum Shamno. They made a gzeda on bread of a goy because of the oil. they shouldn't come to eat from their oils. In fact, my woman, the shemen be pas. Why should shemen be a big ace than pas? He said the goyza bread from a goy. You shouldn't eat bread from a goy because of the oils of a goy. You shouldn't come to eat from the oils. Is coming to eat from the oils a great ace than pas? They're both the same reasons. You shouldn't party out with them. You shouldn't look at their daughters and intermingle with them. So it says, you're right. You have to read it that there were goyza on bread together with shemen, which are the same isur. That's one category. Mishum yena, so that they shouldn't come to drink wine, and wine is much harsher than pas, and pas and shemen. Al yenon on the because Rashi says what's mishum yenon, that the yayin boyaboy, when somebody drinks wine, it wakes up the Yetzirah, it gets the Yetzirah burning. And that's what Rashi says, and it brings them to take these girls. And taking the Goyish girls is because of Chash they'll come to do Avoda zara, like the story in Baal Pe'er, that because of the taiva that the Yisrael had, when they smiled, Bilam gave that advice to Balak.
So if you're going to a piece of bread, you're going to come to eat the
you join the party, you'll come to do Avoda zara. They'll get you to serve Avoda zara. And another Zera that's not mentioned by faith is Mishum Davacher. And the Gemara is going to explain what does it mean Val Davach Mishum Davacher. Says the Gemara, after Geniva had said the name of Rav, what is the Zera of Bnei Seyam? We said the Isur is adultery. We're afraid they're going to live with these women, and these women will bring them to Avoda zara. And that's what Geniva said.
Adultery and heresy are two different things.
No, adultery, once they commit adultery, or that's when the hearts are dying for adultery, they'll bring them to the serve Avoda zara. Both. So it's mamish bia. And the Rav Nachman Rav Yitzchak said it has nothing to do with bia. It has to do that they're considered as tumas nida, even though they don't see blood, even though there's no blood whatsoever. Tumas nida is menstrual blood, and that it's that blood is tamidik blood. Even though a woman's menstruation blood is not matana, but it's exera. And we're going to learn about it later. Says the Gemara, the Isur, but Gediva says the Isur is because Bnei Sein is not because of nida. It's because Pasha they'll live with these girls. Says the Gemara, Bnei Sein is big Zedus of Talmid Sham Vehilo Daraisi. Why are you saying it's a Zedus of Talmid? You said Bnei Sein is one of the 18 Takanas. What are you talking about? Daraisi. You're not allowed to live with these Goyish girls, the Chsiv, like this Chattenba. You're not allowed to get married with them. Says the Gemara, and for the Gemara, Darais Shabbat Umis. The Minater, you're not allowed to get married with the 7 nations. Avol Shari Chavim, but from other nations like the Italians, they can do it. Like there's no Isa. The Asaina Begazu, and the Talmid of Shammai came and said, I feel the Shari even the Italians don't touch them. You're not allowed to touch them. So the Gemara Ladas Shimon ben Yechai, the Hama, according to the Shimon of Yechai, who says Ki Yosef bin Kamei the Avoda Lekim Achedim. He says that the Isa of marrying the Shiva Umayis is because if you marry one of the Shiva Umayis and they have a child, who's the child gonna? The father's gonna take that child. The father's a goy, and the wife might be a yid. And what will it? So the boy is a yid, and the father will have dominance and bring him to serve Avoda zara. So what difference does it make from which ummah? Any ummah you're not allowed. Well, lab is called lab series. Any from any nation, the same thing could happen. What are you going to say then? The Isa is applicable to all of them? Says, you're right. Ishus. Only with the Isa, it's only marriage. That chasness is usher. But Asainu Gaza, I feel that is nus. But the Talmid of Shammai Hillel added that even a one-nighter is forbidden. Till now, we only know from the pasuk a real chasna. A one-night stand is telling us that that's also forbidden.
With a non-Jew.
Even though there's a Gemara that says if somebody has a taiva, he should go with his clothing in black. to another country and do what he has to. So there was a story that the guy came with a shtaimel.
The salacious stuff over
So the guy came with a shtaimel, and they asked him, the guy asked him, the owner of the hotel asked him, what's the mayai? I mean, you're doing all cold abas, would you come with a shtaimel? He says, Hashabbos, he needed.
Where's that Gemara?
We had it not long ago. I don't know.
Had it?
Yes. In fact, the Gemara's nus nami. But even for one night stand, the Beis Din shel Shem goes out. There was already for one night stand also. There was the Gzeira from Shem, the son of Noach. It says, where do we see? Vayem Yehuda Itzi Ola v'tisarif. Yehuda had a one night stand with Tamar, and she was pregnant.
I think it was in the daytime, wasn't it night?
Okay. Okay.
Is that better in the middle of the road?
Oh, see, take her out and burn her. So if so this can be that there was already excited at that time. She was a baskoyim, but at that time, but it was a znus. Says you want to the oivd kechavim albas yisrael. We only know that oivd kechavim albas yisrael cannot get married because what will happen? She'll have a child, and she'll noshim daitin kalas, and she's going to have to follow what the husband says. The mashcha basei, because she's going to follow the lead of the husband. The husband's going to take the son to Avoda zara, because the husband is a guy. How about a Jewish man with a Goyish woman? Like there, you don't have a problem. First of all, the child's not Jewish. Number two. So where's the Isa? There, the Isa is because you might take a Jewish child and bring him to Avoda zara. Yeah, it says what about Asinu Gazu? On this, the Talmid of Shammai came and were Goyiza. Even there, a Jewish man with a Goyish woman is not Afili Yisrael Abal Avoda Zechavim. Even Yisrael who lives with Avoda Zechavim is going to be forbidden. So your mother. So Yisrael haba al Avoda Zechavim, a Yisrael that lives with a Avoda Zechavim has nothing to do with Shammai. Halach l'meish mesinai. It's halach l'meish mesinai. Domamar, the Tana had said habayil aramis kanoim pagan by. One who lives with aramis, the kanoim could be pagan. Where do we see that story? We just had it by Pinchas. That not Zibi ben Solo lived with Cosby Basur. And Pinchas was a kanoi, and he killed them both. So you see, it was already that psak of they're not allowed to live together. I mean, Jewish man cannot live together with a guy. It was already from before Shammai's gzeira. Amalei da'arayis b'fahesya. I'll tell you, it was only publicly because he went out in the public. He said, "You're allowed to take a midyanis like this." He showed. So this was done publicly. So that's takasa. Like the story with Zimri ben Solo who took Kaz Basur. That was B'fnei Kol HaMe'eda. V'asa'inu Gazer. And the Talmid of Shammai came and goes, Afilu B'tzina. Even if they do it in the hiddenly, it's also awesome. In fact, you bought a B'tzina? Nami B'Bez Din Shel Chashmonai. If that there was already exeter from the time of the Chashmonai before Shammai. Gazer, they made the exeter. The Chas Avdimi. When Avdimi came from Eretz Yisrael to Babel, Amma, he said, Bez Dinoi. Shal Chashmonai, Gazu, they were Gazers, Yisrael haba alay v'etzkachavim, Chayiv. They said a Yisrael that lives with a Goya is Chayiv Mishum Nashga. Nashga means is the acronym of Nida, that even though a Goya doesn't have Dam Nidas, but we're afraid once he's accustomed to doing with a Goya, he might do with a Yid. Shivcha, it says also about Shivcha that it's forbidden for a Ben Yisrael to marry a Shivcha Kananis. So if he's going to live with this Goya, which is like a Shivcha, so he'll get accustomed to living with a Shivcha. And with a Goyish Shivcha. A Shiksa that works for him. Goya. So Goya is like Kipshuti, what we're talking about now. A Goya, the Beis Din says that it's forbidden to have beer with a Eivetz Chacham Madaras Nos. So in order you shouldn't come to a beer that a Chasnes. So you have the Inyav's Nus. Eishasish. Eishasish, that she could be married, even though it's not considered as marriage there. But once he takes a woman that is a Goyish woman that's married, he might come and do the same thing, but he So you see, and he says, Ravin came and he argued, and he says the last one is not Aleph, but it's Zayin, Nashgaz. It's Zaina. So that's what the Talmid is Shammai v'Hillel. So you have Zaina. You said that Bitsina, to live with a goy, right, is also, that's what they were, that's what Shammai instituted. But we know that already from the Chashmonaim. It says that Yisol Chayiv Mishum Nashgaz Znus. So you have Zaina, the Zayin. Says you want to keep Gaza based Dina Shal Chashmonai. I'll be Atzma, only on the cohabitation itself. But Aval Yichud, but a Yid being alone with a Vedas Kechavim, with a Goya, Loi, they didn't ask the Yichud. So Inu and the Talmidim of Sham Vehilla came, Gaza Afilu Yichud, even by Yichud of Yisrael with a Vedas Kechavim is also going to be Yasa. Says Yimara Yichud? Yichud Nami, Bezdin Shal David, Gazu. The Bezdin of David, who was way before Shammai, were Geza, that a Yid and there's not allowed to be Yichud with a guy. Forget about even the guy. It's not allowed to be Yichud alone. Gazu. With the story of Amnon and Tamar. Amnon and Tamar were brothers and sisters, half brothers, sisters. They were both the sons of David. Amnon was the Bechir of David from one woman. It says Achinoyam, and he wanted very much Tamar, who was his sister, but from a different woman, from Machal. So his friends gave him advice, listen, make yourself sick. She'll serve you, and then when she says, you'll become well again right away, and you'll do what you have to. And that's what he did. So Gazu, because of that story, Amar Rav Yehuda show in the Maisa of Amnon and Tamar, Gazu al Yichud, that Isha shouldn't even be alone together. Amri says, and for the Gemara, Amri Hasam over there, Yichud Bas Yisrael. Tamar was a Bas Yisrael. So Aval Yichud Vedas Kechavim Loi, but the Yichud of a Goya, they didn't answer. So Inu and the Talmid of Sham Vehilo came, Gazu Afila Yichud Avid Kechavim. They were Goyza even on Yichud of a man with a Goya alone is not allowed to be alone together. In fact, the Gemara of Yichud the Bas Yisrael that I say is Yichud the Bas Yisrael in Torah. You say it was also. I'm sorry. Yichud the Bas Yisrael. You're saying is through David and his Bezdin. That I say it's in Torah. David Rab Yichud Mishum Rab Shimon ben Yohitzadok. Remez leYichud. There's a hymn. No. It doesn't say Minat Torah 9. It says that David and his Bezdin. So, for the Gemara Daraisi, it's Minat Torah.
Fine, yeah.
Says the Gemara Rab Yichud Mishum Rab Shimon ben Yohitzadok. Remez leYichud. But there's a Ramis for Yichud Isha is not allowed to be. Is Minat Torah Minayim. What do you know from the Torah? That if your brother will persuade you to Avoda to go serve other gods, Ben Aim Memis is you say Ben Abba Aim Memis. It sounds the pasuk says only who's going to get persuaded, the two brothers from the from the mother's side. But if it's the son, so you can imply, but two brothers from the father's side will not. One brother will not convince the other to serve idols. In fact, the Gemara Elabeim Misyachdim. So what's Takin Pshat? Says the Gemara Elabeim Misyachdim Imay. If it's from the mother's side, so then the brothers can be together by the mother also. It's the same. The brothers from the mother's side. There's no Yisrael of Yichud. But But if it was a half a brother from the mother's side, so the brother would never be together with him when he's by his mother, because the brother that's a half a brother and the mother's not his, he's not allowed to be alone together. So there wouldn't really be a chance for one brother to persuade the other. So from that pasuk that he emphasized that there's only persuasion one brother and the other if it's from the same mother, but if it's not, you cannot have persuasion. We know there's not allowed to be yichud between a son alone. They cannot be alone. A son with a mother. So you see, the yichud is Minat Torah.
But a son and mother could be alone. What's the goal?
Not half a son. If it's not his mother, if it's a stepmother, she's not allowed to be alone with him. Says the Gemara yichud ha'raisa is the Gemara yichud ha'raisa they shasish. I only know yichud is Minat Torah of a married woman. That case is talking about a married woman. Vasa David had came because Afila Yichde Pnuya. He said even if it's not a married woman, it's going to be Yasa. Vasa Talmid Beishami Beisilo Afila Yichde David's Kechaven. And then David came and asked even Yichud of a Pnuya of a woman that's not married. Tama was not married. And then Beisham Beisila came to say that even if the girl is not a Jewish girl, you're not allowed to have Yichud. That's what Beisham be alone. That's what Shammai came to ask.
Want to summarize?